A person cannot come along and change you. They might spark a change within you, but they cannot change you. And that's the same thing when it comes to you trying to change other people. You might spark something within them in order for them to do the work to change themselves, but you cannot change anybody into being anything for you or creating a safe space for you or creating what you need. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to connection. You have to understand that how a person is, if they want to change, they have to do the work to change, the inner work to change. Because if they do the outer work to change, it's just going to be performative and they're just going to end up changing back at some point when they get tired of performing. And that's when those back and forth in and outs or those runner chaser dynamics come in when it comes to connections in general, family, friends, or romantic partners. I think that's when that runner chaser dynamic comes in, or that's when you start to feel like somebody is pushing or pulling, doing a push and pull dynamic, when you are trying to control them to change, or when you are telling them your boundaries and they just want to stay in your life because they don't want to be alone, or they don't want to lose you, or whatever the case may be. They just want to keep you around for what you are doing for them or how you make them feel. The real work comes from within. You cannot change on the outside and really actually change. And that's with anything, honestly. Like, your self-worth, how you actually feel about yourself and connect to yourself is what is going to be the pivoting point. Because you can do, like, even when it comes to money, even when it comes to a career, you can go out and you can get a job, but that's not going to change the way that you feel about yourself. That's not going to change the way that you actually value yourself within. It might change the way that you look at yourself on the outside. It might change the way that other people view you. But when you don't do the actual work to build that self-esteem and that self-worth, no matter what it looks like on the outside, if you get into a relationship or if you start to create this business for yourself or you start to move up in your career, it's going to look good on the outside, but you're going to still feel a sense of emptiness on the inside. And at some point, your life is going to match up to how you feel on the inside in some dynamic, in some way. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to when you have done a lot of work on the inside, because sometimes it takes time for your life to catch up to the work that you've put in on the inside. And sometimes, and vice versa, when it comes to you not doing any inner work and you having it all on the outside as well. I think it's important to understand that type of dynamic when it comes to trying to build a strong foundation. At some point, your outside is going to match your inside in some dynamic, in some way, or you're going to have to put in extra work for no reason in order to keep what you have on the outside, in order to keep impressing or performing for the next person or the next situation, or to keep, because when it comes to trying to keep a performative state or trying to not lose things or whatever the case may be, there's different reasons on why you don't want to lose those things. Like for me, for example, when I was losing everything in my life, the reason why I didn't want to lose those jobs or why I didn't want to lose those different accolades or whatever the case may be is because I didn't want to need people again. I didn't want to need help again because I knew what that would look like. Because like I've said in the past, growing up as a kid, I moved around a lot, and moving around a lot and needing so many different people made me have a wound with receiving, because I felt like receiving came with being disregarded. Receiving came with being feeling like I had to do something to receive, feeling like I had to allow people to walk all over me, or I had to allow people to bully me, or I had to allow people to do what they wanted to do to me in order for me to actually receive shelter, receive a roof over my head. And so that played a part in me really not wanting to lose this life of something that wasn't aligned to me anymore, or something that wasn't really truly aligned to my soul's calling or what I knew I was meant to do in the world. And so, or what I was meant to do for myself, and what I was meant to step into authentically for myself. And so I think it's important to understand that no matter how tightly you hold on to something, if it's not for you, you are going to end up losing it, or you're going to end up losing yourself. And I think it's important to understand that the most important thing is in the world is the connection that you have with yourself, because that is what the foundation is built on to create healthier dynamics outside of yourself, whether it comes to, whether it be money, whether it be love, whether it be connections in general. The connection you have with yourself is the most important, and the connection that you have with God or the universe or whatever you believe in is most important, because that is what is going to pour out onto other people, and what is going to pour out onto your circumstances or your situations, and it's going to be how you will perceive life, and whether you see life half full, and whether you see life as a cup that is half full or half empty, and whether you see the blessings that are really in front of you or whether you see trash. Because your perception is based off of how deeply you go with yourself. And so when you don't go deep with yourself and you're just surface level with yourself, you're not vulnerable with yourself, that is how you're going to see other people, and that is how you're going to see the world, and you'll never build actual strong foundations and actual strong relationships when it comes to any dynamic. Nothing will have substance, and I think that's important to understand when it comes to connecting, or when it comes to connections in general.